Alright, seeing as this is my first video for this channel, I'm going to cover what I believe to be a very serious issue, which is whether or not you should expose players to sexual interaction. Now, to some this may be a very audacious subject to address, but for those who have entered a tabletop RPG scenario and been subject to unprovoked sexual role-playing, it can be very awkward. Now, this goes to both males and females. There are males who are equally uncomfortable with having role-playing encounters of a sexual nature forced on them, but unfortunately, in the tabletop RPG community, most of that unwanted sexual attention, when it comes to the game table, happens to women. And it's something I have seen far too many times, and so this is part of why I'm addressing it right now. If you are even going to entertain the thought of implementing sex into your campaign, you need to establish several detailed steps. It's not unlike establishing consent with a human being in real life. First of all, you need to establish whether or not they are even okay with being exposed to it. All of my group is okay being exposed to it. But if you have players that are not okay being exposed to it, it doesn't matter if you have players that are cool partaking in such roleplay. You don't do it, because you're going to lose the players that don't want to be exposed to it. And on the opposite end is the main focus, so I'm not touching on that really, but of course, if they don't want to do it in the first place, you don't even try. If you really are curious, just touch the waters of how NPCs flirt with PCs, and if it's met with awkwardness, done. Don't even try it. You've figured out all you need to know. Pushing the issue is no different than unwanted advances in real life. It's the same awkwardness. Now, the next step you need to establish is what they're comfortable with and how comfortable they are with it. If you're in a close circle of friends with your main gaming group, like I am, these are things that are easy to figure out. If you're not in a close circle, then A, you're testing the waters by even trying to get into this in the first place, and B, you're going to have a very difficult time discerning what they're okay with and what they're not okay with without making them uncomfortable just for asking. Everything I'm going to state in regards to my group is because we are all a very close circle of friends, and there's a very different dynamic there. At the game shop, or if this person exclusively exists in your life because they're playing your game, they're not a close friend, then there's a very different expectation there. And so you're even at a greater risk at that point. Now, once you've established that they're okay with it and what they're okay with, then you need to understand a third detail, and it may seem trivial in difference, but it actually makes all the difference in the world. The consistency in which they're okay with it. Because if they're okay with it happening once in a blue moon because they just feel like doing it, then that's all you're going to get out of it. And you need to accept that. Pushing for a higher rate of frequency than they're used to is just as wrong as pushing for something they don't want in the first place. So now that you have all of those three things established, if everything's a green light as far within those three rules, then you need to understand that they still call the shots on this one. You may be the DM, you run the game, but unless they have specifically come to your table to play a sexually oriented game, their desire to do it, what they'll do, and how often is subject to change on their terms, and you abide by those terms. So that is what needs to be established to safely handle that. And if you do not believe you can actually do that, then I would recommend, if you can't accomplish all four of those steps, I would recommend not introducing sex into your campaign. Now, once you're going to do so, should you do it anyway, and you're good to go with all 4 of those steps, I'm going to tell you how I handle it, since I do have in my group 2 players who love to roleplay sexually active characters, and 1 who loves to roleplay a very chaste character. And these are things that they really don't waver on at all, especially the chaste character. That player, that's part of his religious beliefs. So, to balance the dynamic out, this is how I handle it, and if you can improve on this model, then by all means do so. But, first of all, as with step 3, if you initiate with an NPC a sexual encounter, and they don't respond, they're not receptive to it, it's done. It's over. Just move along. If they do, I typically roleplay the hookup, the dialogue that results in them going off and getting a in-room together, or whatever. And I will also roleplay the post-sex role-playing if they are having fun with the whole shenanigan. As far as the sex goes, there is a performance check and a stamina-based check, just so they can see how well they did, and it may have some role-playing impact on the NPC. If a player is not comfortable with the roles, and that's something that can come up, if they're not comfortable with any roles featured, but they're okay with the idea of having sex, then just improvise from there. You don't have to make them have roles, because roles may be more official than they wanted it to be, and they may not be that comfortable, so just dismiss the roles altogether. But that's just how I typically handle it with most of my group. Now, one thing that I will stress absolutely, and this is something I encourage everyone to adopt should they do sex in their campaign: sexual assault does not happen. It does not matter who your players are, how close they are to you. That is a recipe for disaster, and few things you can do as far as gaming is concerned will put you at risk as a DM and as a group. It's just bad news altogether. I do not roleplay sexual assault. Even if my most promiscuous hypothetical female player is going to be captured, then she may have a finger cut off, she may have an eye gouged out, she may be electrocuted with shocking spells. No sexual assault's going to happen in my game, and I would encourage everyone who puts sex in their campaign to follow that note if you take nothing else from this video. But, like I said, this is not going to be a typical issue for me as on this channel. Most of my stuff is going to be much more lighthearted, but my goal on this channel is to enhance the gaming experience overall. I've been gaming for 23 years, since I was 8 years old, and I love the idea of sharing my thoughts and experiences with others. So, if I have an idea, I'm going to share it with you. If you want to leave a comment in the video section as to something you want to see brought to attention, then I'll do a video on that if I can snag it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, there'll be a lot more lighthearted stuff to come. So please subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next adventure. Have a good one.